Hey everyone, and welcome to Chef AJ Live. I'm your host, Chef AJ, and this is where I introduce you to amazing people like you who are doing great things in the world that I think you should know about. Be prepared for a fabulous culinary demo today because on the menu is a salted maple pecan fudge, a potato and spinach burrito with cilantro lime rice, and a kale salad. If that weren't enough, I think we're going to learn a lot of other things about making salads from a guest who I'm meeting for the first time. She is a certified PCRM cooking instructor, and I'm learning now a conference producer as well. Her name is Melissa Sherlock. Please welcome her to the show. It's very nice to meet you. I love PCRM cooking instructors. I want to do I could do a whole month of PCRM cooking.
You could. There's a lot of great people all around the country.
How did you become affiliated with PCRM?
Well, so just to go back to the very beginning, my father died of a sudden heart attack, Chef AJ, and it was very devastating for our family. He didn't survive, which is what happens in 50% of the cases, as you know, of heart attacks. So sometime after he passed, I was watching a CNN Sanjay Gupta special called The Last Heart Attack. And right after that, I stopped eating meat and dairy. It just became very clear to me. A couple of years later, my father-in-law passed very quickly, just here one day, gone the next. And then 2 years after that, my mother also died of a sudden heart event, which was a burst aorta. So I started out seeking heart health. I was very interested in heart health. And as you know, what I found out was that eating a whole food plant-based diet, limiting the oils and fat, I just am, it's great for all systems in the body. But after my father died, I got laid off of my corporate job of 26 years, and I was really ready to do something with this because I was reading everything I could get my hands on and just digging into studies and learning. And the first thing I did was the T. Colin Campbell Center for Nutrition Studies plant-based certificate. And then after that, I was just wanting more. So I was looking at university programs, and it turned out we have a very prestigious university here in Omaha called Creighton University, and they were just starting a lifestyle medicine program. It's not in their school of medicine. And so it was an accelerated online, master's level program, which I jumped in and did. It was very scary. And so that introduced me to all the other lifestyle factors and got me off just the nutrition onto other things. And then after that is when I found Neil Barnard and PCRM's program for Food for Life instructors. And so that's where my passion really is to help people understand how easy and delicious the food can be. I love to get hands-on with people and see when the light bulb goes off and they realize that they're not sacrificing anything anymore. Their world of food is opening up. So I've been doing that. I also coach people individually. I've had workshops. I've taught at our community center. All over, natural grocers. I speak wherever I can. I've been invited to speak to the medical students, and we host this. I'm part of a nonprofit, very small nonprofit. We had a big event, and so I always end that day doing a food demo. So anyway, that gives you a little bit of background about the succession of my involvement in this wonderful lifestyle. And I've been totally plant-based for about 11 years, maybe 12.
That's fantastic. Do you feel any different? You look great.
Well, I didn't really have any health issues, but I'm 60 years old. So when I went through menopause, I was getting a little bit more weight around the middle. And I noticed that this helps with that tremendously. It sort of redistributes your weight. And I also would have really bad, debilitating sinus infections here in the Midwest. About once every winter, I would get such a bad sinus infection that, my face hurt and my jaw and my eye sockets. And I have not had a sinus infection in that 11 or 12 years. So it really helped with that. And of course, I'm a high energy person, and that just was magnified, I guess. A lot of energy.
That's great. Did your family join you in your journey?
So I had teenage kids at the time. They were kind of rough. Didn't really join me, but my husband, I was basically making food for myself, and I'd make a pasta and then I'd throw a couple of meatballs on theirs or something. But it was when our third out of our four parents died suddenly that my husband said he was going to join me. So I was eating this way for 4 years, and he would eat things that I made and liked them, but he just had not committed until then. So we are a dynamic duo now, and we love traveling and trying new things. And of course, I love giving him beautiful plates of food that he tells me look like they're out of a restaurant. And we work in the kitchen together. So my kids are eating better than they did as teenagers. And I know we hear them, like they brag about us to their friends. And so we know they're getting the messages. And so we're kind of waiting for them to take the full step forward.
What's the vegan or plant-based scene like in Omaha, Nebraska?
Yeah, that's a good question. I was on Chuck Carroll's show, and he's like, how the heck are you doing this in Omaha? But I will tell you, it's better than you think. Now, there's definitely there's people who have relatives that are involved in animal agriculture, that's for sure. So you have to be a little bit careful. You need to approach people where they're at, but there is a pretty good scene. We have a Modern Love here. There's also one in Brooklyn, New York. So she started her restaurant here. But that's the only all vegan restaurant, but many restaurants have great options. Many restaurants have great options, and more all the time. And as I told you, we had a conference with just about 1,200 people, and they came from all over, but there were many of them from the Omaha area. And it always surprises me when I talk to people and they tell me that they eat that way too. And I think it's because they're being sensible. It's because they're trying to address health issues mostly. I work with people all the time who have high blood pressure, high cholesterol, they want to lose weight. They've got maybe a parent who has had issues and they want to avoid that. So they come at it selfishly, from a health perspective, but it's better than one would think.
Where did you hold the conference with 1,200 people, and did they all come from Omaha, or did they come from everywhere?
Yeah, they came from everywhere. We had a couple from California, like I said, 22 states, because I think sometimes they thought, well, I can buy the airline ticket and get there, and it will still be cheaper than going to one of the big conferences around the country that are very, very expensive. So we held it in our big event center. It's the largest one in the Midwest. It's where we get the big concerts and rodeos, and we've hosted the Olympic trials, swimming there. And so that conference space maxes out at 1,200 people. That's where we held it.
Incredible. What was the name of the conference?
It's called Healthy for a Lifetime. We had one this past October too. We took a year off in 2020, obviously because of COVID. And then in 2021, last fall, we had a smaller, it was in person. We had it in the same big space, but we spaced everybody out, tables, fewer chairs at a table. And so the room still looked impressive. It was just more spread out. And then we also offered a virtual attendance option. So we had about 325 people in person, and then another 125 people on the virtual option.
That is really amazing.
Yeah, it's very fun.
So cool. What did you feed them? Did you make the food? Did you have a restaurant make the food?
Yeah. So in that space, we needed to work with the catering organization that they have. They have their own catering, and it was challenging. The first year, it's easy to get them to make plant-based foods, but the no oil is the really tricky part. And so we had to work with them. The first year we served a buffet, and we just kept going and working with them until we could get a beautiful buffet of food. And then this last fall, we actually served it because we thought that was better, after COVID, not to have a buffet. And we just had a beautiful plate of food. But yeah, we worked with their catering. And we suggested lots of things. And so together, working together with our ideas and what they could do for a large number of people, we came up with some great menus.
That's fantastic. Have you always
Yeah.
enjoyed cooking?
Yes, but even more now. I don't know. I just love my food and I'm in the kitchen a lot. I love to share it, teach it. I really do love cooking.
Do you use any of my favorite tools like the Instant Pot electric pressure cooker or the Breville air fryer?
I'll tell you, I love my air fryer. The thing about the Instapot, I know that I need to use it more, especially for just cooking beans from dry, but like for soups, I'm a big soup maker. And I finally discovered why I I I don't use the Instapot as much. And I think it's because I like being interactive with the food I'm making. So I want to smell the soup and see it and maybe add another spice or something. And so I don't use the Instapot as much as other people who eat this way, but I use my air fryer about every day.
That's okay. Well, that makes sense. It's too bad they, because it's under pressure, we have
Yeah.
a little way that you can see through it.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
add to it, but that makes a lot of sense. But you're
I
right.
finally had pinned down what it is. Why don't I use it?
You're an interactive chef.
Yes.
You like
Yes.
to interact with your food. Have
Right.
you ever thought about writing a cookbook with all your recipes?
Yes. I've got to start on that.
Well, that's
Got to
cool.
start on that because
When you-
people ask me that a lot. So I would love to share recipes that way.
When do you think it'll be ready?
Oh, I don't know. Chef AJ, push me.
Well, let's just book. Here's how we do it. We book a date for you to be on the show for when it comes out, and then you have to finish it.
And then I work backwards.
Exactly. That's it. That's the thing. It's funny because most of my books were self-published until the last one. And there's going to be pros and cons to every situation.
Right.
But one of the pros, especially if you're a procrastinator, to having a publisher is it's a whole different ball game. It's not like when you feel like it. It's like it's when they want it. And so so if you're somebody that can't get motivated, a publisher is good because believe me, they will put a fire under your butt and they're like, we need this now.
Well, your latest version of that cookbook is beautiful. And what I liked about it is I really like getting a new concept and then doing something with it. But there are some really brilliant ideas in there, Chef AJ, like the creamy dressing made with cauliflower. It's just something that I would have never thought of. I want to cook through your whole cookbook.
Oh man,
And
that'd be great. Let's do a show on that. I'll host
I've
that.
never done that before with any cookbook, but I honestly, and I'm not kidding, I would love to do it with yours.
Thank you. Well, let's talk because that could be a fun series. What happened is, nuts are great. They're healthy, but they're very calorically dense and I can't eat them. And so what I was looking for substitutes to lower the fat and calories in the recipe that had nuts. And so I thought of beans and I can't eat beans either. So it's like, what is going to be white and creamy? Well, there's cauliflower and there's potato, and they both really work really well in salad dressings for thickening and for that mouthfeel.
I didn't know that you couldn't eat beans, so I eat a lot of those. But
I know
the cauliflower
could, but cauliflower is so neutral. It's like you can use it for anything.
It is. It's just brilliant. I love the cookbook. I want photos. I want, they're good instructions. It's clear. It's really well done, I have to say.
Oh, thank you very much. I appreciate that. So what are you going to make for us today?
Okay. So I'm going to try to make a plate of food, and then I'm just going to give some storage tips. So right away, before I forget it, I'm just going to say that my motto is fruit with every meal. So I always have fresh fruit on the table for any meal. And that could be half of an apple, a handful of grapes, a few strawberries. I just happen to have a bunch cut up like this. But fruit with every meal is what all of my students and clients know as my motto. And I wanted to start with this tip for storing strawberries. This is so brilliant. You simply get your strawberries out of their container from the store. You don't wash them or anything, and you drop them in a mason jar and put on the lid and keep it in the fridge. And honestly, it keeps the strawberries probably 3 or 4 times longer than it would otherwise. So I want to get that out of the way because I knew I would forget it if I don't.
How did you figure that out?
I saw it somewhere and I tried it and it works. I've posted it on my Facebook page, Sherlock True Health, and everybody's always surprised, as was I. It's just when you can get strawberries to not go bad so quickly, that's a big one.
Yeah, because they're practically my favorite fruit. I think I eat them every day, and I do have some of those jars. Oh, it's so pretty. But I just noticed when you stepped away how beautiful your house is.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. So I'm going to start with the burrito. So it's a potato and spinach burrito. And this is based off a burrito that we had in Oklahoma City, where our daughter goes to college. We went to this place called Big Truck Taco, and they have vegan options. And so we got one of the burritos, and mine's a little different, but I based it on that. And I probably wouldn't have put these things together in a burrito, but this is one of our favorite things. It freezes really well, and uniformly guys like these. They're hearty. They just, all of my clients, the guys like them, the husbands of the wives really like this dish. So it's also super easy and fast, which is kind of my theme for today. You need to have these really easy things in your back pocket, especially when you're starting out, so that you can make something quickly and you don't get tempted to go for something else. So I'm just using fresh baby spinach. You can use the frozen chopped spinach if you want. You just have to get all that water out, and it's kind of a pain. So I'm just going to put this in the microwave and wilt it down. And then I have, oh, Chef AJ, I have to tell you, I feel like I'm a kindred spirit with you because I'm such a Trader Joe's lover. And I saw your video on the tour of Trader Joe's. And I just love that. Do you remember doing that? I didn't know how old it was.
Oh my God. It had to be since I lived in the desert. I'm going to say, God, was it after the pandemic has a blur. It's like,
yeah, I know.
Pandemic has been like, well, I can look it up, but that was
okay.
Nice of them, because in general, there are signs that say you can't film there, but they let
yes,
you.
Yeah. You're being very sneaky. You're being sneaky. So I'm about 3 minutes from one, and so I'm there a lot. And so this recipe starts with some refried beans. You can cook your beans and put them in the food processor. These are just so good. The only two ingredients are beans and a little salt, and they're fat-free. So that's very important. Even if you don't buy Trader Joe's, you don't have a Trader Joe's nearby, you have to find a vegetarian refried bean or one that doesn't have fat, because honestly, some of them have chicken fat included. So I like this one. You can see my spinach is just wilted down. We'll take care of that in a minute. So I emptied these refried beans from the can, and you can see they're pretty stiff. So what I do to make them creamy is I just add a splash of non-dairy milk. Now you could add a splash of veggie broth or something. I just stir in a little bit of milk to make them just a little creamy. They come out of that can pretty solid. Okay, so now I'm going to season these refried beans. I just use a regular taco seasoning. Sometimes I make my taco seasoning. You can make it as spicy as you want. I'm going to add a little bit of garlic powder because I like garlic and everything. I've got some smoked chipotle. I'm going to put just a dash in. So you can just season them however you like, but they should have a little seasoning because the potatoes are, are pretty bland, so they can take some seasoning. So I mix that in, and I'm going to take my 100% whole wheat burrito here, shell, and I'm just going to smear it up and down the middle. And then I have my spinach that is wilted down. So what I do, I'm going to turn on my griddle here because I brown them on the griddle, is I just take my kitchen shears and I snip these up. I just snip them up, and it's so much easier than going through all the work that you have to go through with the frozen chopped spinach. So that's what I do there. And then I'm going to add the potatoes. Now, I almost always have potatoes made and ready in the fridge. I just boil potatoes. I have the skins on. These are organic potatoes. I have those in the oven, or I have some pasta, either 100% whole wheat or maybe red lentil or edamame pasta, almost always made in the fridge. So I have things. I usually have a grain like rice or farro or quinoa in the fridge ready to put together a meal. So if you have the potatoes ready, you can make 6 of these burritos in no time, and they freeze really well. So what I do is I take the potatoes and I'm just going to kind of put them down the middle here. And then I add some of the spinach. So you've got some seasoning in the refried beans. And sometimes I will add, I am going to top it with a little bit of green salsa. So sometimes I put a little bit in the burrito, and then all I'm going to do is overlap this. I filled this one pretty full, and I'm going to put it seam side down on my griddle. And so I'll keep going till I have about 6. I think a can of refried beans, I can usually get about 5 maybe out, and I will put them all on this very hot, dry surface. And then they brown on each side. And if you put the seam side down, it kind of seals that seam. Okay, so that's as easy as it can be. And then when it gets done, I will show you how I'm going to dress it. So we're going to let that go for a moment. Oh, the next thing I'm going to do is the cilantro lime rice. So here's another storage tip. And it is cilantro goes in a little jar of water. Now you can also tent it with a little plastic produce bag. I try not to use a lot of plastic. So I just put it in the fridge this way, and it keeps the cilantro a lot longer. If you tent it, you can have this cilantro for 2 or 3 weeks, and I'm not kidding. So cilantro also goes slimy pretty fast. And so this is a great way to store your cilantro. Now I have some rice here. This is organic brown rice that I've made. And for the cilantro lime rice, literally that's all I'm going to do. Now, some people can't eat cilantro. You know, it has a soapy flavor for them, but they could use another herb. Maybe they'd want to use basil or chives or something. And so I just put in the cilantro, and I'm going to ream a lime juice into it. Now you could put some other pretty things in here, like some frozen thawed corn or anything else that if you wanted to for color. And then I always add just a little bit of everything but the bagel seasoning. Adds just a little bit of salt. I better watch my burrito here.
Wow, that's so cool. So you're going to serve the rice will go on the side rather than in the burrito.
Yes, so that's what I was going to say. The burritos are so forgiving. You could put the rice in the burrito, and I'm going to serve a salad on the side, but you could serve the burrito on top of a bed of lettuce. You can do so many things with a burrito. You know, I've used hummus in there and roasted vegetables. You can just do so many things. So I don't put rice in mine because the potato, you know, is starchy enough. So I'm going to serve it with some of this beautiful rice. I love this Lundberg's organic rice. So I'm going to go ahead and put that on my plate because I'm building a plate. It's so nice. It's just so simple. Cilantro, lime, and a little bit of everything but the bagel, or maybe just a little bit of salt on there. And then I'm going to do the kale salad next. So the kale salad, this is the easiest kale salad ever. And I think it is the way that I can get people to like a kale salad, because not everybody does. So I think the trick is that I'll stay over here, Kevin, that you massage the kale. And so to massage the kale, I get a piece of avocado about that big. And, you know, you wash your hands, and you're literally putting this into your hands. And it's kind of it's like cleaning out a pumpkin or something. You're kind of going to get that all over your hands, but you keep massaging, and you can hear the kale crunching And then eventually the kale gets quieter and it sort of breaks down the cells. And so I think people find it easier to eat when it's a little bit softer. It also makes it beautiful, bright green. Now I've seen some people massage the kale with oil, and so there's no need to do that. You just get a little bit of that avocado, that's a whole food, and you just massage that right in, and it's really makes a nice difference. Now, after I do that, my simplest kale salad, I am adding some nuts, which I'm using slivered almonds today. And I sometimes use a dried fruit. I know some people, don't, because if they do, they're more concentrated sugar, but these are dried cherries. And so if you've got a family and you want them to eat kale salad, this is a good way to do it. I put in some red onions. I think the red onions are really important. And then I will usually put in a little bit of a fresh fruit. I love to use pear, or maybe mandarin orange, or you could use apple. So I like a little bit of dried fruit and a little bit of fresh fruit, but it doesn't matter. I really just think you need a fruit, a nut, and the onions. And then I'm going to add a little bit of chia seeds or hemp seeds. And then I just realized I don't have this open, a little bit of balsamic glaze. Now, Chef AJ, I know you're big into the balsamic vinegars that you have there, the wonderful ones in California.
Well, hello. Guess who's watching the show live? None other than Tommy Balsamic, the CEO of California Balsamic, who's going to send you 2 free bottles in the flavor of your choice.
Oh my gosh, that is so great. Does he have that 7 herb one that
That's
you made?
right.
Oh, that's the one I want. Anyway, I should be using his, but I'm going to just use this glaze. You can see it goes on like a chocolate sauce. It's so thick. And then when you toss this, it is such a yummy combination of flavors, a little bit sweet, a little bite from the onion. And I haven't had anyone yet who does not like this salad. So that's important to me for people who don't think they can eat kale. They just don't think they like it. So I think it's all in the massaging. Okay, now look at my burrito. This is kind of what makes it nice and restaurant-y. You get this nice brown layer on it. Thank you so much, Mr. Balsamic.
Yeah, that is really cool. That what else do you use? That is it called a griddle, or what do you call that?
Yeah, it's just my electric griddle. I make pancakes on it. I always pull it out to make this because it's just so easy. I can do them all at once. It's just got a nice nonstick surface, and I've done hash browns on them, mostly hash browns, pancakes, and these burritos. So now this burrito can go on my plate, and you can see my beautiful lunch with the burrito, rice, salad. Most of the time I would have about half of one of these and fill the plate with more salad. And then some fruit for dessert, maybe an iced tea or some cucumber water. And you have just a delicious low fat and very nutrient dense and filling, satisfying meal.
That looks incredible. Looks like looks like we're at a restaurant.
I'm gonna cut it in half. It could have like another color in it, but I like this simple combination so much that I don't want to mess with it. I could put something red in here. It's just so good the way it is with these 3 things. So then what I would do is I would garnish it with an avocado. And I use green salsa because, I keep running out of a spoon, because the green salsa just somehow complements the potatoes so well. So then I would do that, and I would use some of my green salsa and spoon that on. It's really nice with these toppings. And I might garnish it, since I have a little cilantro and a couple of black olives, I might garnish it with that. So doesn't that look even better?
Yeah.
So that's a big old hearty meal. Like I said, I would usually just have half of that and then load up on the sides, but it's never failed me. And what I do is I will take a burrito, I'll get them all browned, and then I'll take each one and I wrap them in something like a press and seal. I let them cool. I wrap them in a press and seal, and then I drop them in a big gallon-sized freezer bag. And I don't freeze a lot of stuff. I like to eat it fresh, but these are just as good. I go ahead and brown them, let them cool, then wrap them and freeze them. And you can just grab one out of the freezer and have this meal. Or if somebody stops by, you can grab a couple out. So, and it's also good for giving to people. I cook for people if they have anything going on in their lives, an illness or a baby or something. I like to take food, and it's nice if they can put it in the freezer if they've already received too much. So that's my lunch, fruit with every meal. And then the other thing I wanted to go over, let's make this. This is the salted maple fudge. We'll make that next. That's going to be my little dessert. So I like to make the energy bites with dates and nuts and cacao and all of that. And I sometimes I make little balls, but I really like to put them in the mini muffin tin, because they look like such sweet desserts. So this is my fudge. I've got a cup of cashew butter, a little over a cup of coconut flour. I've got some maple syrup and pecans, and a little bit of salt and a little bit of vanilla. So it's a raw dessert. You can literally mix this up in minutes. If you have somebody coming, you need to take something to an event, you can mix this up, and then I will put it in the mini muffin tin, and I'll put that in the freezer and let it kind of set. You can see how fast this goes. Need a little bit more flour. It still looks a little bit sticky.
I never would have thought that you could freeze a burrito. That's a bit, but you think about it, they sell frozen burritos in stores.
Yeah, they do. And we have a restaurant, I guess, who makes burritos and sells them at our farmer's market. And, but it's always cheese in it, and beef and chicken. And so we did buy those back in the day, because the kids could go ahead and pull something out and feed themselves. Okay, that's a little sticky, so I needed a little bit more. I'm just gonna make a couple here and show you what I do. So usually I'm rolling them in a ball, I'm putting them in there, and then I'm pressing them down. They're a little sticky, and I've put away my coconut flour. And then I will take, they've got pecans in them, and I will take a pecan and dress the top. This usually makes a little bit more than 12. And then I might add just a touch of salt on the top. I'll put that in the freezer. I'll leave it in the freezer for half an hour. And then I just take a butter knife and kind of pop them out of there. And I keep them in a Tupperware container in the freezer. And so when you pull one out, it just takes no time until you're able to eat it. So it's a small dessert, a small treat, which is all I need. I don't need a big dessert, and they're always there. They're always in the freezer. So I really like this one. I also love the chocolate, non-dairy chocolate chips, dates, some kind of nut butter, and, form those in this little pan. And they just look like little, I don't know, not truffles, but they look like little special desserts you might get somewhere. So that's the fudge. You can see how easy and quick it is to mix that up, put them in the freezer. You've got somebody coming, you've got them, and you can use them as a little afternoon pick-me-up. You just need a little something sweet after a savory meal. They work really well.
But how do you not eat the whole tray? That's my question.
Yeah, I'm okay with that. Like I said, I guess maybe I have a sweet tooth, but I don't want to eat a ton of sweet. It's the perfect little meal ender for me. Now, I just wanted to give a few ideas about salad because, we should be eating a lot of greens. And, I think some people just think it's a big hassle to get out all the stuff out of the fridge and make your salad all the time. And even I will go without a salad if I don't have a little start on it. So I have this big Tupperware bowl, and it doesn't have to be this big, but I line the bowl with paper towels, and then I put my greens in here. My favorite combination is romaine, spinach, and red cabbage. So the red cabbage, I used to think it was just a pretty filler because I love the color, but it's also one of the most nutrient dense foods for the pound price. And so I always add it to my salads now. And I also added some shredded carrot to this. This is a combo that will stay in the fridge. I don't add, bell peppers or any of those things that might get slimy faster, but I keep this mix. And then my trick is when I want to pull it out for a salad, I do not touch it. I use tongs because every time you touch it, you're introducing bacteria from your hands, and that will start to degrade the lettuce a little bit faster. So I'll scoop this up into my bowl, and I might add some other things. I'll just make a little salad here. So I've got the good stuff here. And then it's just a matter of how much further you want to go. So now I happen to have some veggies that are cut up because I had book club last night. So I'm going to add some red pepper, some edamame, and there's some cucumber in here. So I'm just going to add some of that. I have a chopped date that I'm going to put in there. And then I do always try to put a little nut or seed in there. And if you're not using too much or you can afford those calories, I like the crunch. I'm putting just a few sunflower seeds in there, and that's my salad. And so having this made, and this will stay in the fridge for, I know I've had it in there 5 days. So you can get your salads out every day and still not have to start from scratch, cutting all the lettuce and getting the greens ready. So that's my trick. And then for the kale, my trick is to always put the kale in water also. And you can tent this too. It likes it cold. So here in Omaha in the winter, I'm sometimes putting this in the garage. It won't freeze in there, and it does really well in that cold, or I'll put it in my extra fridge, or if you have room, you can put it in your main fridge. You can tent this, but I like to just put it in water and put it in the fridge. So some of those storage tips are really great. The cilantro stays so much longer, the strawberries, the kale, and a lettuce blend like this is, when you do those little prep things, it helps a lot. When you have this in the freezer that you can just pull out and you have some rice made, you can put something together really, really quickly.
It's amazing how quick you did all these recipes. Cody and a lot of other people are saying that was a great tip for the strawberries. And Carlissa wants to know, would that work for other berries as well?
So I knew I was going to get that question, and I should have tried it for raspberries because raspberries are my favorite. I don't know, but I'll tell you something that I do know. You probably have access to a lot of organic, fruits and vegetables out there. We don't always. And I know that berries are on the dirty dozen. So I do know that with my fruit, like my apples, if they're not organic, I will put them in a bath of baking soda and water. And I think it's Dr. Greger who says that will take off a lot of the pesticides. That tip doesn't work for berries. It will start to degrade them. So for the berries, to clean them, I use vinegar and water. But I don't know if this would work. The blueberries stay pretty fresh, but I'd like to try it for raspberries. I do buy frozen fruit too, and I use that for my oatmeal and things. But of course, it's great to have fresh fruit. So I don't know the answer, but we should try it. I think this works because it still has the stem on it. You don't take the stems off. You don't wash it. You just put them in the jar as is. So since the raspberries don't have a little stem like that, but it's worth a try. Definitely worth a try.
Yeah, absolutely. Joyce says, we love those burritos. My husband asks for them at least once a week. And
who says that? Is that someone I know?
I don't. Joyce Stratman?
Yes. Hi, Joy.
And TS says, do you have any tips for storing herbs like Italian parsley after bringing them home from the store? Would that be the same as your cilantro tip?
Same thing. That's why I love having the little jam jars. They're so perfect for an herb. So I'll do it with the cilantro. I'll do it for parsley. I mean, you could use it for chives. Almost any herb I think would work really well with this method. It's just that the cilantro tends to go bad faster. That's why it's such a good tip for the cilantro, because parsley stays pretty well already, but this stuff will go slimy on you, I think, too soon unless you use it right away. So it's especially a good tip for the cilantro.
Great. So we have a question from Beth. What kind of tortilla did you use? And Gluten-Free Diva says, any suggestions for an alternative wrapper? I can't have wheat.
Yes. Okay. So I know that there are gluten-free tortillas. I know in Omaha, we sell them at natural grocers. You could use an organic corn tortilla. I just think the flexibility of the gluten-free or flour wheat tortilla works really well for this. I got these at Trader Joe's. They're 100% whole wheat. I like their tortillas. But I would say you can find gluten-free tortillas. I don't often buy them, but I know that I have seen them. And so I would just use anything like that, or maybe try corn.
Great, thank you. And Jerry says, can you wash apples in vinegar water solution and not have them taste like vinegar?
Yes. So what I do for the apples, I actually use the baking soda and water. And then you're supposed to leave them in there for 15 minutes. So I leave them in there for 15 minutes. I do this with my bell peppers if I'm not able to get those organic. I leave them in there for 15 minutes and then I'll rinse them. The same thing with vinegar. They're not going to take that vinegar taste. You'll just rinse them off after you've soaked them. When you soak the berries, like raspberries and strawberries, in the vinegar water, you cannot believe the dirt and grime that is left behind. The water is surprisingly dirty. So yes, all you have to do is rinse it at the end and you won't take those tastes into the fruit.
Nice. And the question is, can the kale be massaged in plain warm water, or does it need some kind of fat?
I think it's best with a fat, but you can massage this kale with some salt and some lemon juice. I know in one of the PCRM recipes for kale salad, because we're really trying to keep it low fat, we massage it with salt, a little bit of salt and lemon juice. So yes, you can.
I've seen people just massage it with hummus and it breaks down.
Absolutely. Hummus is a great alternative for something like this. Tahini, that's a little higher fat, but the hummus would do the same thing.
Now I saw a question. Hold on. It was there a second ago.
And by the way, the hummus, if we're traveling, say, and we don't want to buy a ton of groceries, you don't want to buy every ingredient, but we're going to make a salad and you hate to buy even a bottle of vinegar or something, we will buy hummus because we're snacking on the hummus. And we will always buy our non-dairy milk because we're putting it in our cup of coffee in the morning. And so oftentimes we'll just take some hummus and mix it with a little bit of milk until it's creamy and put that on our salad for salad dressing.
Well, that sounds great.
Super easy and fast, and you're not buying a whole nother ingredient. You're using something that you already have.
Question if you can use oats instead of coconut flour.
I haven't tried that in this recipe, but I would say that you could use oat flour. It might change the taste a little bit, but the key thing is the maple here. So I think that's going to still come through. The recipe really suggests that you use cashew butter as the nut butter. but I think that oat flour would work instead of the coconut flour.
Terrific. Well, I don't know if you've watched the show before. There's one question that just about every guest gets, unless they're not vegan, because we don't really want to know.
Right.
What do you do for a day's worth of food?
A day's worth of food. So my morning is almost always oatmeal. I love to make overnight oats in the little jam jars so I can just pull it out and eat it. Or I'll have steel cut oats made and then I'll just warm it up like instant oatmeal with some soy milk and put tons of berries. I usually use berries and bananas because I think the bananas add the sweetness. I don't use any maple syrup or any sweetener on my oatmeal. And then, or I might have a dry cereal. The only one I really like that I think is good is the Ezekiel sprouted ancient grains. There's no sugar. It's so full of fiber. It's all organic sprouted grains. I think it's the best dry cereal. So I might have some of that. I'll add some flaxseed. I add flaxseed to my oatmeal too. And then I'll still add the bananas and berries to that. So that's usually my breakfast. And sometimes I just eat fruit. I don't always have a breakfast like that. And on the weekends, we might make a tofu scramble. I'm not a big pancake girl, but sometimes we'll make pancakes. I do love, love, love the tofu scramble, but we'll almost eat that more for lunch. So my lunch, any of these things I have for lunch. We're big soup eaters in our house. So that's another thing that I always recommend to my clients and students is to have a soup made in the fridge. So what I do is I'll make a big batch of soup. And while it's very, very hot, I do a quick canning process. I love these large mouth canning jars. I will fill this with all the way to the top with soup while it's very, very hot. And then I'll put this lid on very tightly. And 15 minutes later, you hear the pop and it seals. And I will tell you that sometimes I have to take it to my husband to open it. So I'm not doing a canning in a water bath. It's just simply putting it in there hot, putting the lid on really, really tight, letting it cool down. I still store it in the fridge. I don't put it on my pantry shelf, but I'll cool it down and put it in the fridge. So having a soup made is the fastest meal that you can have. You're literally warming up the soup, and I will have that with a veggie sandwich or a salad. So soup and salad, soup and sandwich. I'll have this burrito. I don't know. We have all kinds of things. If I have pasta made, we might have pasta. So for dinner, we love things with roasted vegetables. Roasted veggies are another thing that I like to have on hand. So if I'm going to grill or roast veggies, I do a lot of them. And I'll do bell pepper and asparagus and onion and mushrooms. And then those grilled or air fried, or those roasted veggies, I will use in a roasted veggie salad. I will use them in a wrap. I will use them to layer into a lasagna. I use those in many, I'll top some pasta in a good marinara, and I'll put those roasted veggies on top. That's one of my husband's favorite. And so those roasted veggies, now when you put the leftovers in the fridge, they do shrink a little bit, but that's okay because you'll warm them up and use them in your salad or your wrap, and they're still going to taste delicious. So those are some of the things that we have. I like to have nice cream for dessert. That's from the frozen bananas. So I always have frozen bananas in my freezer. And if I get a craving for chocolate, I think that one is about the least guilt dessert that you can have, because I use bananas, raw cacao, a little soy milk, a little vanilla. And sometimes I'll put a spoon of nut butter in there, but you don't have to. And then you have something that's like a chocolate soft serve. So, I like little treats like that too, but I like just a little bit, or the nice cream that I can have a big bowl, and it's not I don't have to feel bad about that at all, because it's still really low fat, but yummy and creamy.
Nice. Mary Lou says, how many parts baking soda to water?
Oh, Yeah, I'm not one that measures a lot, but I think, I just do this. I'll get a big bowl like this, maybe a quarter cup, I would say, into a big bowl like this, and then drop in your apples or your bell peppers or whatever you have. And that's if I don't buy them organic. Of course, I try to buy organic unless they're such a price difference. And then I will take the time to try to remove, those pesticides. And it's supposed to take off about 95% of it. So, it's best to buy organic. There are some things that I buy organic all the time, like my greens, always organic, my beans, because I eat a lot of them, organic bananas, just because I think they taste better. And so those things that I eat a lot of that rice and grains, I like to buy organic if I can. Some of the vegetables are just way out of sight. I find that the bell peppers, I can grow those in the summer, but in the winter, I really like to use them, but the organic ones are almost out of sight. So you can kind of decide what you want to use your dollars on and what you want to take the effort to try to clean them as best you can if you can't buy organic.
Great. What's your husband's favorite meal that you make?
Well, he loves my chili. I know that because if I'm going to go out of town and be away from him, is all I have to do is make a big batch of my bean chili and have it in the fridge, and he'll eat it twice a day for the whole time I'm gone. I just had some pelvic surgery. And so I made a lot of food before the surgery because he was going to be doing everything. And so I made, he loves my soups. He loves this burrito. He loves pretty much everything I make, but I would say the chili is just a staple for him. We eat soups all year round. So right now I have a chili, minestrone, and like a cheesy broccoli one in the fridge, and we could just have a meal in minutes. But I would say something like this. Yeah, he's a good eater. He likes what I make.
That's the secret food prep, if you ask me.
Yeah, it is.
Nice.
Well, you have to have things ready.
You are really talented. I could see why you could do this.
It's I really love exploring with food. So I understand though that some people, I have good friends who need a recipe. They need a recipe to follow. And then, so when I'm working with people, I do try to teach them how to get comfortable varying from the recipe if they don't have every ingredient, or just thinking about something they would like to use, like the person who asked the question about the oat flour, and, being interactive with your food, making changes and trying things. So I do try to encourage being able to just put some food on a plate or in a bowl. And for when you really need something quick, that's going to help you a lot, that you can put something together quickly.
No, I agree. Somebody's asking, do you use nutritional yeast?
Yes, absolutely. So nutritional yeast, let's see, I used that in my broccoli cheesy soup because you make a cheese sauce that has nutritional yeast. Pizza. I use it on top of my pizza. I make like a vegan Parmesan with ground cashews. And I know you can't have nuts, but you could just have the nutritional yeast and a little garlic powder. We top our pizza with that.
I use is oats instead. I make delicious faux Parmesan. The recipe's in the book with oats and nuts. I mean, oats and nutritional yeast and Benson's Table Tasty.
Excellent. I'm going to make that. Because, if you do start using the nuts and seeds a lot, you are going to add calories. And, for my part, I just use a little of them. Like I know some people, I noticed last night, if you have avocado there, they might use a lot. Or I'll notice people making salads at events that I've had. They'll use a lot of avocado. I just mostly use it as almost a garnish. You don't need a lot of those things, but finding alternatives for the nuts and seeds that are lower calorie is a big deal.
Do you exercise a lot?
I'm very active. Yes, very active. And so right now I'm kind of in a recovery period where I can't be so active, which is very hard for me. but I'm kind of a power walker. I like to get on the bike. I'm a tennis player. I don't really go to a gym, but I do yoga at home. So I like yoga and tennis and walking the best.
Well, you look amazing. Well, thank you. You come back, please. You're just a wonderful culinary.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in, and Chef AJ for having me. It's such a big honor. I'm kind of a geeky fan of yours.
Well, thank you. You are really talented. You're just an excellent teacher and communicator. And just, hey, just the strawberry tip was worth the whole show. Let me tell you, because I have a jar there, and I strawberry is my fruit.
Yeah. Those kinds of things are important. That's what adds value to my teaching. Anybody can get a recipe online, but when you've spent 10 or 12 years finding different tips and things like that, it's really wonderful to have people love those tips and ideas.
Well, you got to put that in your book, which you are writing.
Yes. Yeah, thanks, Chef AJ. I will get on that.
And your name, I think you could have a clever, I like your last name. There could be a clever play on words. I'll start thinking of a title for your book, unless you already have it.
What do you got?
Well, I haven't come up with it yet, but
okay.
I like your last name a lot, because there could be
Sherlock. So
yeah.
We have our kids love the Sherlock name. They loved the BBC or the British series with, Cumberbatch in it. And so we get a lot of positive attention because of the name, but I still have to say, when I say my name, I say Sherlock, like Sherlock Holmes, or else they might spell it wrong or something. But yeah, there's got to be a hook there with the Sherlock name.
I'm gonna start thinking about it, but
Okay.
Get going, girl, because you're very, very talented. And I'm so happy to have met you. And I wish I could taste the food.
That is really an honor coming from you, Chef AJ.
I can tell. I could see how easy choice to make you a PCRM cooking instructor. You are very good at this. Excellent.
Well, I wouldn't have always been this way, but when
oh my God, we got it. We got the title from a viewer.
What is it?
No meat, Sherlock. I love it.
That's a good one.
Video of 1,000 Nights. You must have a real name, right? I'd love to know your name. You're always watching and always making wonderful comments. That is a great title. Because, you hear people say no, and there's a swear word,
right?
Sherlock,
Right.
That, if not the title, a subtitle, that is brilliant.
That is brilliant.
Yeah. See,
it would be a name that people would remember. Like,
really, it's so good. It's just right away. You guys like that title? Everybody's loving it. They love it. Thank you.
Thank you to whoever suggested that.
I'd love to thank him or her by name, but a lot of people use YouTube names that are like, it's video of 1,000 nights, video 1,000 nights. Wow, that was amazing.
Well, if that person emails me at Melissa Sherlock I can do SherlockTrueHealth@outlook.com. I will give that person a free copy of my cookbook when it comes to fruition.
Well, you should, because it's a great title. So video 1,000 nights, please do it. Man, okay. I love people on the show. People love it. No meat, Sherlock. That is so memorable. It's not just, whole food, plant-based. I don't want to put down anybody else's titles, but a lot of them just sound all the same. There's a book, buy the domain now, hun, because it goes away really quickly. And now it's going to be, just do it the second week. I love pushing people to be successful.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Brilliant. Thank you. We came up with the name on the show the other day. Some guy was doing an app and we just didn't love it. And as a group, this is like a think tank in the show.
Right.
A question from Randy. Can you air fry the small peppers?
The small peppers, as in bell peppers, or like the little multicolor bell peppers?
I if that's what she means, I do. And I even air fry shishito peppers. Those are
the shishito peppers are great. I think you can air fry any vegetable. You can
air fry anything, really. And especially if you don't like it, put it in the air fryer.
Absolutely. I've bought some vegan little raviolis and put them in the air fryer so they have a little crunch. I love it for potatoes mostly because it browns them, and I use it for tofu a lot. I'll just cube up my extra firm tofu, put it in a bowl with a bunch of dry seasonings and shake that around. and put it in the air fryer for like 5 minutes. By the time you cut something else up, your tofu's done.
Yeah, I think if you have leftovers, it's like reinvigorates them. Well, you
is.
please I always send a thank you email after the show, so you can you just say what 2 flavors of vinegar you like. Thank you, Thomas, for sponsoring the show, and pick another date. I'd love for you to come back as soon as possible.
Thank
and book
you.
For September. And maybe by then you'll have the rough draft of your new best-selling book, No Meat Sherlock.
Thanks, Chef AJ, so much.
Oh, no, thank you. It's a pleasure to meet you. And thanks all
So
of you.
much fun. So much fun.
Really, really such a wonderful presentation, because I just, I'm telling the truth, because I was like, wow, everything you did was great. The griddle, I mean, I learned so much. So thank you. And thanks all of you. And thank you, Video of 1,000 Nights, for the great title from Melissa's book. And thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate the community, those that watch live and those that watch the replays. But please come back tomorrow when we have another fabulous show. My guest will be John Pierre. He is a celebrity fitness and nutritional guru, and he's trained many, many celebrities, and he's all about saving the planet, saving animals, and